Well, good morning. Oh, no. Where am I? In Alaska? Come on, guys. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. You know what? We should rejoice. I tell you what, I am so excited about this soil health movement. If you realize how incredible this movement is, you guys would be jumping and we would be singing hallelujah because it's amazing. Let me tell you, folks, before I start, let me thank the coalition. Thank you, coalition, for serving. Jerry, Nancy, I tell you why. Do you know why we give women a discount when we started the Soil Health Academy? The women get it quicker than the men. Nancy, thank you for helping them out. There was probably a reason why Christ, after the resurrection, went to the women first. Come on, it's the girls. You know, one thing I want to say something. Where's Mark? Mark Gutierrez, where are you before I start? Mark, is Mark here? Well, I don't know if you guys knew this, but Mark and I both grew up in New Mexico. And we're both from New Mexico. Our family's been there for 400 or 500 years. In fact, my dad said, son, I want you to do two things in life. I want you to work hard and don't marry your cousins. And I said, yes, sir. That leads me to this. There's my wife. And I tell people, please, when you go and introduce me, don't call me an expert. I said, a reason I bought a farm so I can beat the expert out of me. Right, Tony? That's why I bought a farm. There's my wife, Sonia. We run 100. We have 155 acres. And I bought a farm. And the reason I bought a farm, because I wanted to feel what you go through. The pain you go through. The loss that you go through. Because if you don't understand, how can you really teach? It kind of leads me, how come we had professors who never farmed? So that was always a big thing in my mind. Today I'm going to take you on a journey. And before I do that, I'm going to set the tone here, folks, for the next couple of days. I'm going to take you all over the world because in the last 18 months, Tony, I've been in 6 continents. And I said this year, I am not going to travel as much as I traveled last year. And folks, I'm going to share with you what I've learned from a global perspective. And then later on, the next day, I'm going to summate and then talk about what's next and what we have to do for our operations, okay? There's all kinds of definitions for regen. This is my own private definition. See, regenerative agriculture, for me, is a mindset. It's how you view the world. And the mindset is about building relationship and understanding how to mimic nature's beauty, intelligent design, to facilitate healing, folks. The biggest important thing, because we focus so much no-till, cover crops, no. Mindset. It's a complete change. Really, the word means to renewal. I first got that word in the scriptures in Colossians, be renewed. New person, new mind. A different way you look at the world. Because the way you look at the world dictates how you look at your farm. Because the biggest issue on the farm is me. Okay, so we're going to talk about these 4 things for today. I'm going to talk about how the little things make a difference, how they make a huge difference, the power of one, and how things are connected. These are some of the things that I observe when I go globally, whether you're an agronomist, you went to college, or you're a farmer. These are things that I see that we do not understand. The power of one, how things are connected, and how tiny little things can make a huge difference in your operation. The other, how our mindset impacts the relationship to our farm and to the people and everybody around us. Mindset is critical. The other thing is, I don't think a lot of us, or even myself, after spending 8 years at university, did not understand the power of life The power of life. And it's ironic because we are on the farm all the time and we don't observe it and we never have the right approach. In fact, you could tell by our university studies how we approach and how we use science, because we're using science asking the wrong question. I'm going to talk to you about the science that asks the right question. Now, Johnny, can you do me a favor and get me some water, please? Now, we're going to start off this book called Chaos. I think it was a very powerful book. This book made the word chaos very popular. What do I mean by chaos? No, it's not the way I leave my room or organize my office. Chaos is this: non-linearity. Why farming and ranching is so difficult, because you deal with unpredictability. The farm and ranch changes every day. So when the farmer tells me and a rancher says to me, I'm just a farmer, I kind of want to smack him. Because you deal with the most complex ecosystem that changes every second, every moment. You deal with chaos. That's called non-predictability. If you ever get a chance to read that book, and it started with Dr. Edward Lorenz, famous MIT, famous weatherman, brilliant mathematician, and something incredible happened in the 1960s that forever changed the way we look at the natural system. It's called the butterfly effect. How many have heard of the butterfly effect? Butterfly effect, when he first brought it out, was like this. Can the flapping of the wings of a butterfly moving the air molecules, tiny little changes in a very connected system, create a tornado in Texas? And the answer is yes. What he meant was little changes in complex biological systems can have a huge potential in changing that system. How do you figure that out? Look at the computers back then. You make that noise. I don't think I was that old. Mine was the little DOS floppy drive. Something happened incredible one evening in his lab. He decided, I don't know if the thing went down, but he said, look, what I'm going to do, he had his little computer model, he had parameters of the weather, temperature, moisture, all those parameters. And he would crunch the numbers. He had the numbers all the way to 6 decimals. 6 decimals. And because he was in a hurry, he grabbed a cup of coffee, he says, hey, I'll just move it through 3 decimals and set it for the printer. No big deal, right? To his amazement, that 1 parts of 1,000 changed the whole prediction of the model. That tiny changes changed the outcome if the model predicted rain or it predicted a clear day. And he was startled. See, because when we take the measurements and our limitation for prediction of the future models is our instrumentation. Can we take it to 96.98887? Even those things change. And that's what it makes us so hard for us to predict the weather. That's why we have to use very sophisticated satellites, and we have to run 6 or 10 operations, flyovers, to predict it. In fact, after 5 days, even using artificial intelligence, 3 to 5 days, don't even bother. It will change. Why am I bringing this up to you? Ladies and gentlemen, we all have gone through butterfly effects in our lives. If I wanted to marry my wife, Sonia, I could not be here because she's an amazing woman, can hold things together. If I wouldn't have gone to the 6th grade, to the private school, I would have probably been shot with my big mouth. My dad said, you're not going to the public school. Butterfly effect. Meeting Tony at the right time. The bright recruits at the right time. Johnny Hunter. Butterfly effects. Ladies and gentlemen, we go through butterfly events all our lives, and we do not realize the potential outcome. You have all experienced that. The person you married, where you went to school, impacted your life. It determined what pathway you took. The cover crops, the strip till, whatever you did, butterfly effect, and had a huge impact in the system. When we first started the soil health movement, a little tiny butterfly effect, that people were sick and tired of the way the system was working. Maybe it took a crop failure, butterfly effect. I think what we're not very cognizant about, those tiny little things can do incredible, huge things. Here's another thing that's the biggest issue that I've had to overcome traveling on a global scale. The mindset that we have created about the way we look at the natural system. The programming that we got in our university studies, growing up, our churches, our communities, we have created certain mindsets, and it's very difficult to overcome. How do I know? One of the most difficult mindsets that I had to overcome was the difference of this. This is my college education. It's called reductionism. Reductionism is this. When I got out of 8 years of university, I would break things down into pieces. The problem with this, it does not work good for biological systems in the human body. We need to understand that all the pieces are connected to the whole. You need to understand how the whole works. I don't care if I went to Brazil, Latin America, our schools, our reductionist science permeated the world. And we view the system in pieces. And I'll tell you, as a person that had my own farm, when I left through school, I left more fragmented. Didn't know how to put the pieces together. What book changed me? Butterfly Effect, Holistic Management by Ellen Savory. Ripped and shredded the reductionism. And now, when I look at your farm, when I look at the human body, I look at you as a collective whole. But when you go to the doctor, what does the doctor do? Break you into pieces. You go to the liver doctor, to the heart doctor, they break you up into pieces because you're a complex whole system. The problem, it fails miserably for chronic disease. Our soils are chronically sick, and you cannot fix them if you have a reductionist view that's connected. All of it is one. If you don't understand that, then you won't do your integrated pest management well. Because the way we do integrated pest management now is if you see a bug, you call the co-op, you spray, instead of looking how it impacts the whole ecosystem and all the beneficial insects. You've got to have a holistic view. Let me show you another perspective how reductionism has impacted our people. As I travel the whole country, people say, but Ray, cover crops don't grow here. It's too dry. It's too stinking wet. I hear that all the time. We need Nancy to go all over the place and tell people it does work. It's too cold, too wet, too dry. Very reductionist, but what do we not talk about? What do all those things have in common, folks? Life. Every one of those have microbes in life. Yes, even the deserts have microbes. It is ubiquitous. We inhale them. They're everywhere. They're on your skin. 95% of you is microbes. If somebody calls you a dirtbag, don't take it personally. You're dirt on legs. We're covered with microbes. I love showing this picture. The power of life. And I tell farmers now, that is compaction. How do you deal with that compaction issue? Well, let's bring out the machine. more diesel. How does that plant, growing up in the West, this was a very common scene, and you always wonder, how in the world does that plant survive? But that plant leaks and gives off CO2, comes in contact with water moisture, carbonic acids. Fungi break rock down. Bacteria break rock down and make it soluble. Life does that. The biggest geological force on the planet is life. If we understood that, then why do we not cover our land every year? Because that is the biggest geological force that you can apply to your farm, and yet we struggle. How about that picture? That is kelpsum. That's a gypsum seabed in Australia. Oh, you complain about your soils? I got rock. You know why I bought a farm of rock? Because I knew biology and plants and animals can build it up. Why is it dark on the top? Life. And yet we struggle with that. I'll speak this last year, this season, we spoke to 1,000 producers. 1,000 producers. And I said, how many of you are consistent with covers? It is not optional. Because you understand that's the way that soil eats. The plant is the mouth of the soil. It has no other way to eat. Raise your hand, producers. How many of you are consistent? It is a priority. More than eating. Put that covers. That's where we need to be. Because we understand that the soil eats. That's the only way it eats, folks. It makes nutrients soluble. Cover crops are not optional. Please understand the power of life. This is, you know what I was taught in college? Physical chemical. Look at the planet. Physical chemical. But where is the biology? It's biology and life that transforms this planet. The tools that you use are the most powerful tools. It's life itself. That's how we heal this planet, bringing life itself. Who would have thought that the most important 4 things we could do in our farm is these 4 things? Capture sun. Why we're going broke? We're not capturing enough sun. 4 things we do not do. When I walk in your operation, pull out a shovel. Are you capturing enough sun? Real easy. How much of the land do you have covered? If you don't have enough sun, you can't feed the microbes. Because they feed the microbes, the plants, the conduits of life. No nutrient cycle, no water cycle, and no biodiversity. Pretty darn simple. Cover it. So we can get all those 4 processes working. But here's the issue on a global scale. The soil is naked because it does not have its covering. It's hungry because it doesn't have the mouth that feeds it. It's thirsty because the water is evapotranspiring and then we're heating the soils too much and the water's running off and we have high fever because the temperatures are so high on the soil. We're losing yield through temperature. We also don't understand that plants bring 40% of the rain, ladies and gentlemen. The reason our climate is disrupted, we keep talking about CO2, CO2. Please understand, plants eat CO2 for breakfast and for lunch and for dinner. The big issue is we don't have enough cover globally on our planet. 40% of our stabilization of our rain is living plants. Do you know when that first came out and kissed the ground? People said, well, Ray, it can't be. I didn't quote me. Engineers, hydrologists have already known this for a long time. Case in point, there's a great book. Well, look at this picture. That is a picture taken from Australia, a 2,000-mile fence. And what's the border? The fence, stopping the eating of all the vegetation. Where are the clouds, ladies and gentlemen? Where the vegetation's at. Plants bring rain. I got to go to Guatemala. I was a Peace Corps volunteer about 40 years ago. And I saw my beautiful area go backwards. Why? They stripped all the trees. Where I was there, they had these beautiful trees where it was cool, and the rain was always, they call it the land of the mist. It's gone. It's all been stripped. Folks, if we're going to bring healing to this planet, we got to stop this. We got to stop this. So that's why it was so important to me who is going to be the Secretary of Ag, because I'm going to tell you, the person that's going to have to do is, I told the last Secretary of Ag if we could do one thing only, cover the land. Get rid of all the dang farm programs and pay farmers $100, $110 an acre to cover the land. Cover the land. Our human health will change. The climate will change. Many, many things will change in our lives. Water quality. After 78 years, our number one water quality problem is steel sediment reaching the lakes. We have spent billions of dollars as a people, and our farmers are going broke. It is simple because we have made it too complex. By the way, that picture's in Pennsylvania on the right, and that's Illinois. Oh, it's too cold. We can't do that. Why are we not driving and see that our country is green? A majority of our country should be green during the winter. The person on the right saying, you know, God has blessed me. Thank you, Lord, for the creation. I'm going to feed my soil and feed the microbes. And it's a way of love and thanks and giving back to the land. Oh, no, but it's $30 an acre. Why are we here? Butterfly effect. What are we doing that makes an impact on our lives? Our farms right now, this bare ground, and the reason it's easy to do that because our farms run on ancient sunlight. Diesel, fertilizer, chemicals. Get rid of them, the land would change. Do I want to get rid of that product? No. In fact, Elon Musk said, one reporter said, Elon, would you want to get rid of all oil in the world? He goes, no. See, because he understands systems thinking. What we're saying is, why don't we change the way we farm and we can reduce the inputs? A lot of reasons our farms are going broke is because of petroleum-based products, fertilizer, chemicals, pesticides. We're going broke. And we don't need a lot of them. We can reduce them greatly. Again, I think my thing's going there. But look at the West. The West is like this, folks. I was born in 1961. I went to college in New Mexico State. I want you to look what 1961, look at the paddock on top. That's the university. Look at it now. Could millions and millions of acres in the West, giving off sensible heat, bare ground, impact the climate? Well, of course it does. My forefathers saw that whole western part of the country was grassland. It was grassland. I grew up seeing desert and thinking that was normal. Now, please, when you get a chance, if you get that article called The Scientific American, and it's a great article because it talks about sky rivers. It's a great article because we're getting more water vapor in the atmosphere, and then when it rains, we either get it too dry or too wet, right? Have you noticed that, Jerry? Or maybe I'm just the one that's smoking too much cover crops. How about North Carolina, California? These sky rivers. So why am I sharing this with you about the climate? Because we need how to articulate how powerful agriculture is. I will tell you, in my humble opinion, agriculture alone and grazing can heal the planet alone. Alone. Cover the land, we wouldn't even be talking about CO2. But here's what's happening in Europe. I just got back in Europe a while back. The solution of the governments, because of CO2 pushing this issue, CO2, it's the problem, you're the problem, and it's causing a great disruption. How many have heard about the German farmers and the French farmers upset? How come it's not in the front news for everybody to understand? What is happening to the farmers? So the solution is, well, we have water quality issues, we'll buy you out. That's a solution. Get rid of the farming. Well, that's really short-sighted. What did we teach them? One of the board members said, this is an education issue. Billionaires come and talk to me and say, Ray, I'll help you pay carbon offset. No, why don't you give money to help farmers come to school and help them change their lives and the way they look at things? That's not sexy. Farmers will say, well, I'll go buy a $300,000 tractor, but I won't come for a 3-day school to change your life and get off the fertilizer and the chemicals. Isn't it amazing? Do you know what happened in Australia? I just got back from Australia. Interesting. Australia doesn't get help from the government. And when I went there, I didn't know what to expect. I'm just being honest. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the level of understanding they're going to be. But I was absolutely amazed how much they knew about soil biology, because you know why? They've had to. They have no government help. It's changed their whole lives. Australia is growing so quickly with the soil health movement. And where did they start? Right here. Why would other countries going to change quicker than our country? Because of farm programs. Let me give you an example here. I don't think this is working. I think my thing died. Okay, so here, I want you to look at this. This is a NASA global model. And I have another one in my bag right there. If you can find one, Johnny. Pointer. And so I want you to look at the circle. And I want you to look at the date. 2006. When I first, Jay Fuhrer showed me that model, I was blown away. The orange represents CO2 in the atmosphere. Now, please understand the atmosphere, 0.04%. That's 400 parts per million. What started this study? It started in Carter's administration. He said, scientists, I want you to go check global warming, the CO2 in the atmosphere, and I want you to look if this is making a huge impact and what's going on. And to his amazement, scientists found out, guess what the scientists found out? Yes, CO2 is going up. But there's another gas way bigger than CO2. Water vapor, 900 times more. Why did they ignore it? Because they did not know scientifically, computer model, what to do with it. Where does the water and the CO2 vapor need to be? In the soil. In the soil. Because our ground is bare. 20% of our planet is bare ground. We can draw the water vapor and draw the CO2 down. Let me give you an example. Look at this. April. What are we doing in April in the United States? Farming. We're tilling. You're waking up those coprotrophic bacteria. They cannibalize the organic matter, eat your aggregates, and they give off CO2. Part of your organic matter is up in the atmosphere. But look what happens 2 months later. Went from red to blue. You know what that said to me? Our planet is incredibly dynamic. It changes so quick. Corn and soybean are growing on millions and millions of acres. Do you see the impact of a tiny little thing as a cover crop can make a huge impact? Huge. Now scientists are saying, we see a 33% increase in yield because there's more CO2 in the atmosphere. By the way, I went into the NASA and I looked at do you know there's been an 8% increase in greening our planet? But see, our mindset, the world's going to end. It's going to burn up. Our kids don't even want to have kids anymore because they continually hear that we can't fix this. And it's the wrong approach, wrong science, asking the wrong question. This is regenerative agriculture. All we're saying is move from the left and bring more biodiversity to the right. If you ask me what's my biggest concern, the lack of biodiversity, folks. Once we get the insects and animals and back, nature will heal itself. It tells you to get out of the way. She'll heal it. If you ever want to find out more information, please watch this guy. Go on YouTube, best university in the world, YouTube University. You want to know more about the climate? This man's got it. Okay, now, the science of humility. Folks, there's a great website called Biomimicry Institute. I hang around there. I love it. Why do I love that website? Because it asks one question of science. Very simple. Ask nature how she does it. Ask nature. Why is our not research papers out there? Why are we not researching, hey, how do cover crops, if we use the right cover crops, they can release the right exudate, excite the right microbes so we can get better cycling. But we study the same things, using more herbicides, more chemicals, and we're failing miserable. Asking the right question. How do we mimic nature? How does she farm and ranch? Okay, this is how we build cities. If we would do biomimicry, it would look like this. Very simple. How would she design a city? Amazing, isn't it? Different mindset, different approach. In fact, science has been so maligned. I wanted to buy a t-shirt, Tony, that says, I trust in science depending who paid for it. If it's science not asking the right question, I don't want to hear it. I don't have time. I've already spent 8 years. I've learned to be like a barnyard rooster. Go prick the kernels of truth in a pile of research crap. Not because I'm against research. It's because we're asking wrong questions. Science is a process, ladies and gentlemen, and it changes, and it's dynamic. It's not fixed. We still don't know how gravity works, really. This is the farming we're talking about. How do we mimic that architecture? When I showed that first to farmers, what do you mean, Ray? I grow corn and soybean. Well, do you have diversity in your system? Do you have a living root 24/7? Do you have animal integration? Both those systems have animal integration. Nature does not farm without animals, period. Now, do you have to bring them in? That's not what I'm saying to you. But if we can have cover crops that emulate that design, that architecture, your life will change on your operation, on top and bottom. Biomimicry has been around for a long time. The scriptures, it was beautiful how Johnny just a while ago told me a little secret. He says, by watching a bird, and how that bird was hungry, and he was looking, so he went to go grab earthworms on the to his field, and he found none. And the only place he found earthworms was right at the edge of the field. That tiny observation, the natural system has been talking to us for thousands of years. It's been speaking to us, but we ignore it. It's to our peril, and it's hurt our climate, it's hurt our health, and it's hurt our families. So, this is what we want, folks. This is the design. Look at the architecture. Look at the design. This is what we're trying to emulate. Now we get more pollinators. One of the biggest things I've learned when I saw that first time, one night I was reading a research paper, because I've been accused that I make things up. smoking too much cover crops, but I was reading copious amounts of research paper, and it was a researcher. I wish I could put his name because he really deserves the credit. He said the plant and soil are one. I go, pow. I go out there, and I know our wives get so sick and tired. I said, honey, I get it. The plant and soil is one. And I married him. Poor wife. Here's what I mean. You take the plant out. You do not feed the biology. No biology, you have geology. So when we leave that ground uncovered at the end of the year, you have not fed your biology and you let them go dormant the rest of the season. You did not capture sun. You did not feed. This is why we're going broke. I think if I was to choose one thing that has really hurt our systems, created more weeds, more of the issues, because we're not capturing sun, converting that light energy into chemical energy and feeding the microbes. Right here, folks, to feed these organisms, because the reason I've seen, and I keep showing these, because this is the life we talk about. They change the world. They make it soluble. They're on our skin. They're everywhere. These are protozoa grazing right around the air bubble. That's called nutrient cycling. Every time they eat, they release nitrogen. The more carbon, the more organic nitrogen available in our system. People have asked me, well, Ray, I love this little video too, because I want to show the power of the organisms. Because one farmer asked me, and I'm telling you, Jerry, I don't do pits anymore. Because in fact, I got somebody mad at me. I think it was from NRCS Soil Scientist. Says, well, Ray, do you want a pit? I got, nah. See, you see those organisms? It's that top 3 inches. If I spray it, disc it, and till it, that ecosystem, that habitat, then I write another check. The more I disturb that ecosystem, that first 3 inches, 80%, 90% of that organisms of all nutrient cycling is the first 2 or 3 inches. Where all those organisms, where I was not taught, that's called soil ecology. Organisms in the bottom and the top. So the more you disc it, the more you spray it, the more you molest it, the more you're going to write a check. 70% of all beneficial insects continue their life cycle on that first 3 inches. So the more we screw it up, write another check. But you've got to feed them. You can't do it without a living plant. I spoke to the National No-Till Conference. When was it? A couple of years ago? Has it been that long? You remember the guy that stratification and no-till, oh, chemical star. No-till by itself, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you, is poor. Will not work to your goal. Cover crops and no-till will change your life. Why? There. That is no-till 50 years on the left. Was a man wrong about stratification? Yeah, it happens. Look at the compaction. See, no-till stops the destruction of the house. But no-till does not feed the life in the system. 3 years of covers, and look what happened. It changed everything. 279% increase. That farm has a 270 bushel average now across that whole field, and they never had it. It takes the sands and makes them more forgiving. It takes the clays and changes them. Life modifies the physical, ladies and gentlemen. Life does that. I think that's so important to walk. If you walk away today, the power of life. So what makes it so hard to be corn and soybean? Right there. Prairie systems on the left. Our system, where a lot of times they don't see a living root. It's not covered 24/7. You're not going to get the cycling. You're not going to get And we're missing microbes. We have lost a lot. There's microbes that were there native, that were cycling nitrogen on their own. They're no longer present because our soils look like this. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of more things, and then I'm going to wrap it up here, because what I'm going to show you later on tomorrow, and I'm going to summate all the talks, and how we can improve our journey and how we can start going down this direction and become much more of inspiration. Because I'm going to tell you, all of you here are early innovators. Not early adopters, you're early innovators. I don't think we're there yet. You are the early innovators. Watching you can change everything. It's you in the local neighborhood that are changing our planet. Now let me show you the power of the covers. This was taken by one of our, Jake Blavin from Kansas, because I hear all the time, and Russell and I were talking, I said, Russell, what is such a big deal about putting a $15, $20 cover? He says, Ray, the margins, you're telling them to throw all their profit. The margins are so tight. I'll never forget what one producer, we sat there and I was helping him consult. He has 10,000 acres, 10,000 acres. And we walked his fields and had his two sons there, and he was sitting across the table. And I said, I'm going to ask you a very, very personal question. And don't get upset with me, please. How many of you make $100,000 a year? You farm 10,000 acres. Not one of them raised their hand. And I said, sir, don't get upset with me, but I think I could have worked at McDonald's for all the hours you put in. And McDonald's guys are making $20 an hour now. For all the stress and everything you have to do and all the equipment and everything you have to deal with, and you can't make $100,000? I can show up as a cubicle in my government employee and don't get in trouble, which is impossible for me, and make six-figure income being a GS-12. What is wrong? Let me show you the power of the cover even into the winter.
All right, March 4th, 14 degrees, and conventionally field, wheat field, got one controller here. A little tight.
Right? You would expect that, right? That's what happens in a field with covers.
Healthy soil controller test take 2. There's a wheat field from yesterday across the fence. They marked this. It's about 10 degrees, I believe. And we're going to do the little controller outside. It's round. It's had 6-way cover crop blend last summer and a 5-way cover crop blend currently sowed into it, with snow retention and good soil armor from cover crops.
How did the probe go down? Come on, you guys should be going, aggregates. Microbes, fungi, living plants created aggregates, gave it pore space. Those covers capture snow in an area that it's marginal to grow corn. Look at the long lasting of those covers that we complain that's $20 an acre. It's the tiny things, butterfly effect, that make a huge impact that you cannot see. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up here. And I'm going to show you later stuff than my last talk. So, what's the biggest struggle? Mindset. How we view the world. Why is the regenerative movement not growing faster? Because let me tell you, we all, social conditioning, we do it in our own home. When your child comes up to you, no, we can't do it that way because we've done it this way for years and years. Social conditioning. I have learned social conditioning at work. Shut up, Ray. Focus on getting conservation in the ground, when you start asking social conditioning, stay within the lane, bro. We've all been taught that. We do it at the universities, we do it in our church. Oh, what if we start questioning some things? You're questioning social conditioning. It is really hard for new information to come out because of social conditioning. Let's talk and see the 5 monkeys.
A group of scientists placed 5 monkeys in a cage and in the middle a ladder with bananas on top. Every time a monkey went up the ladder, the scientists soaked the rest of the monkeys with cold water. After a while, every time a monkey went up the ladder, the others beat up the one on the ladder. After some time, no monkey dared go up the ladder, regardless of the temptation. Scientists then decided to substitute one of the monkeys. The first thing this new monkey did was go up the ladder. Immediately, the other monkeys beat him up. After several beatings, the new member learned not to climb the ladder, even though he never knew why. A second monkey was substituted, and the same occurred. The first monkey participated on the beating for the second monkey. The replacements repeated until what was left was a group of 5 monkeys that, even though never received a cold shower, continued to beat up any monkey who attempted to climb the ladder. If you asked the new group of monkeys why the beatings took place, the answer would probably be,
Well, I don't know. That's just how things are done around here.
How many have experienced that? Raise your hand. All of you probably should raise your hand. Remember when you started doing covers, Johnny? Remember Tony? You're an idiot. Tony, you're an idiot. Do you remember that? Social conditioning. Keeping you in the lane, bro. You know when I brought sheep over? I brought sheep to cattle country. That's a no-no. My neighbor running cattle, he goes, Ray, are you an idiot? He actually called me an idiot. And I go, why? He goes, this is cattle country. I said, where's the sign? I don't see no sign. The conditioning is real. It's in our work, our schools. We condition each other. COVID is a good example. You didn't get the vax, you got the vax. Conditioning. Oh my God, if you thought for a second, oh, you're not allowed to think. You know what was my mantra when I started going down this, when they started throwing things in my face? Oh, we got to feed the world. You don't understand, Ray. We got to have corn and soybean. We got to feed the world. Ladies and gentlemen, it is acreage, 12 acres and less, that feed the world. The reason I show you is the Darvish family, a little tenth of an acre in Pasadena. They make $40,000 a year, and they grow 6,000 pounds of vegetables. We are not feeding the world with corn and soybean. We are not feeding the world. I'll show you what we are doing, though. Please, I am not against corn and soybean. I don't want you guys walking around here. I'm against you going broke and being enslaved by the system. You know what I love about regen? It's freedom, and freedom doesn't come for free. You have to think. You have to work hard. Let me show you some more things and wrap. This is our current. So how does regenerative agriculture look? That's the system I grew up with in the left. I grew up in the West, irrigation. We tilled that ground until it's talcum powder. Look at regen on the right. You see the difference? Oh, there was science there on the left. Science asking wrong questions. Treating nature like a machine. The science on the right. And by the way, we've had science in the 70s, 30s, 40s on this system on the right. Old Ray Stiles was rolling cover crops in the 70s. This is why a lot of young people don't even want to eat meat. Because the left treats our animals like a concentration camp. Does not allow the animal to express its design. Now, please understand this. The farmers didn't do this. We as a collective, as a people, wanted cheap food. How are we going to change it? It's going to have to change the whole system in years. It's not going to happen right away. But guess what is happening? After one talk, one butterfly effect, oh, by the way, the hog on the left, 185, the hog on the right, $1,500 for a grass pasture raised. They feed him raw milk, acorns, and if you ever eat pork like that, oh my goodness, it's like kissing your wife. It's delicious. It's delicious.
I'm not going to use that.
Oh, well. Say Ray said that. Yeah, and he said, well, he smokes cover crops. What do you expect? Folks, you remember the Impossible Burger? I tried one. You know why they call it impossible? It's impossible to swallow. But I got to give credit for the young generation. They care about their food. They care about the planet. They've done studies that the younger generations that we think they're lazy or whatever, they care about quality of life. My daughter, millennial, reads labels. You got to be a foodie. But look at the left. I have producers now in Colorado had let the animals out of the stockyard and let them graze the pivots, and they gained 3 pounds a day on the mixes. Why are you leaving them in the corral and feeding them? And using ancient sunlight diesel moving the feed? Hey, why don't we let them out and let them graze it? They have legs. It's changed everything. What did it take? A little butterfly effect. Does it matter the way we raise our beef? It does. Grain-fed, grass-fed. You see that yellow fat? That's what we're supposed to eat. And then scientists say meat is bad for you. Well, it depends how it's raised. Ladies and gentlemen, the little tiny things matter. How we finish those animals. There's even talks about getting feedlots that have these large tracts of land. They have a wonderful life and one bad moment. Just like we all hope we do. Feed them well to the end. Feed them cover crop mixes and they all gain the weight and they eat what they were supposed to eat. It matters how we do business, ladies and gentlemen. The way we farm, the way the Creator does it. Don't ever watch the documentary Seaspiracy. You may not ever eat salmon again. When we grow it, it's for efficiency. Isn't that a nasty little word that we use? We have to be efficient. Nature's already efficient, ladies and gentlemen. We will never create a mix like she does for our animals. We will never create the molecules that it needs, that cow and that sheep can get for itself. Wrapping it up. Does it matter if you buy organic? I still buy organic. Do you know why? The intent. Regenerative intent. I pay for your intent. Because you care. Organic people didn't like the way agriculture was going. When I had an organic farmer come to my place, I didn't know what to do with him, Tony. Because I was already blinded with my mindset. But I'll spend $12 for free-range eggs. Why? Let thy food be thy medicine. Let thy food be thy medicine. This is what we're going to learn this next couple of days. Does it matter? It does. Ladies and gentlemen, our people in the United States are losing 2 years. This is our people. You go in the 60s, corn syrup, everything is ubiquitous in our food. And this is hard to take. But this is where we're at as a people. And so when Bobby Kennedy won, I was pretty excited. And people attacked him because he understands how regen and our food are killing our youth, it's killing us, and everybody else is getting wealthy. We're tired as a people. So why should we be excited when we first got here? We should, because regen ag is the foundation. The women, thank God for women. They're the boss. They go buy the food. The men, they care about their kids. Millennials read labels. I read labels. We're coming into a new age, ladies and gentlemen, of health, of quality. Do you want to know what the future is? It's not quantity. Quality. Because now we have the science to check your grain, to check your food, and you'll get paid for it. It is coming. You guys are so far ahead. I'm so excited for that future. So what starts us down that path? I'm going to finish just in time. I'm going to shut up. I'll mess myself up. I got 11:15, right? Or I'm over?
We got to go.
Okay, good. Got two more slides and we're done. Folks, great book. You're Not That Smart. It's a great book to read. It tells us how we make decisions, our rationality, and how we look at the world. We're not that smart. And you know who?
The mistake I see smart people making is assuming that they're smart. They're not. Like I said, the mistake I see smart people making is assuming that they're smart. They're not. Like I said,
So Elon Musk says,
the
he says the most problem with young people that come to work, they think they're smart. I realized long ago I'm not smart. So we'll leave it with this last slide. Can we do a butterfly effect? Can we change? This man from India, true story, he won an award in India, how this man, one man, planted trees, many trees for 37 years, and how he changed that landscape. One person. One person. Folks, once you understand the butterfly effect, the power of life, why you're here. See, because every one of you is creating a butterfly effect in your community. And I want to thank every one of you when you go there and you're by yourself and you're taking the hits and you're doing the covers and you're going to the no-till and you move that cow one more time because you don't want to get up, but you want to go move it because it really impacts, because it really makes a difference. Your lives make a difference. And it's all of us together as a collective making a difference, creating butterfly effects. I want to thank you personally for your service. When you come and you serve on the board, and you go out there and take names and you give the tags out, you're making a difference. The world is changed on the days of mundane, the little things we do. So thank you very much, what you guys do every day. Thank you.